A new season of North American Sprint is upon us, and what better place for it than Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Folks, my name is Nick Amon, and I'm going to be your broadcaster, and according to Mullick, serenader for the next about hour and a half. I don't know if I really agree with that last part, but I'll let him hold it. We've got quite the season opener here tonight. Going to be two 30-minute races around this legendary circuit, and I am ready to see what is in store for us here tonight. A lot of faces coming back. One of them, of course, being this man right here, Skylar Lovering, sitting in the pit lane right now. In the Porsche this season, he was in the Audi last time around, but he has switched it up, and before that he was in the Lamborghini. Speaking of Lamborghinis, Jonathan Clifford's made his return in that iconic car of his. Different livery this time, a bit brighter colors, maybe a better chance to see him. Loverink will be joined by his teammate William Hendrickson, both of these John Lacey esports drivers back once again to try and make their mark on North America. And you can see the split times already, less than a second separating your top 7. Andrew Wilson being one such lucky driver. Good to see him back again. We'll take a good look at the liveries as the night goes on. Kenneth Portis back in the Honda. Can't seem to get him out of that thing no matter how hard you try. Get a crowbar, maybe it'll work. I wouldn't bet on it. Brian Rasco, though, big change in the Boatley. Safety first for the 135, and as someone who has put considerable hours into the Bentley, if you want a safe ride, it's got you covered. It is kind of ridiculous how good it is. And Eduardo Sanchez back once again in the 21 McLaren. Same livery as always. He's kept the entirety of it the same. Sometimes he's had a little anime girl on there, but I think he's sort of grown away from that. Spencer Brown also back in the Ferrari for this season. Sort of a interesting livery. It doesn't give you a good look as to what exactly the corners are. Joel Bondera, another McLaren driver, same livery, keeping it clean. Dylan Kaiser is back in the 48. He'll be teaming up, as you see, double 48s. I don't know if that's a problem with the livery sync or if that is coordinated, but either way, Dylan Kaiser coming back. Took a season away. Back out there, Lucas Lemaire as well in the Ferrari. He's made his return. Andre Lloyd, a new driver here in North American Sprint, coming up from the Academy League, if memory serves, in the Aston Martin, hopefully punishing his opponents in a, let's say, clean manner. And then Pocket in one of the sickest liveries I have ever seen on the Ford. I'm very happy to see 3 Fords, especially here at the Circuit of the Americas. It feels like it's a very appropriate bit of livery work to throw him in. Alan McIver, another driver coming back. He's also in the Ford. And that last Ford, if I can find it, is Hernandez. We'll see him out onto the track soon enough. We'll join the drivers. Of course, Xavier Eaton, I believe a returning driver, had a little bit of a break at some point and has come back in the 404. Looking up Chris Frizza once again in the Bricks Racing Ferrari. He is devoted to that. You gotta give the man credit. Scott Waters in the most Ferrari-looking Ferrari livery, but you can see a little bit of Arizona in there. If anybody remembers that livery from years gone by. On to Nick Stapleton, also making a return. Same setup as last season, hoping to do a little bit better than season 17. Had a pretty big hit in the Red Bull Ring race, if anybody remembers that. William Hendrickson, we already saw. Andre Lloyd going out there. Drivers are getting these first few laps. I just want to listen. I just want to pause the music here, just so we can listen to this as best we can. A little weak on the volume. It's hard to get the volume just right in this game, I found. But I'm a fan of the Ford. Taking a couple of laps, I want to get a few more under my belt. And Skylar Lovering just now getting to that first corner. If I had to bet on it, I think Jonathan Clifford may be the first driver out. And you know what? I am always right. No matter what circuit, no matter where the practice lies for this man, he's always the first one out. I'm fairly certain he just camps the server browser and constantly refreshes it until the actual Sprint server pops, and then he just immediately joins. He's been consistent. I think there was maybe one qualifying session last season where he was not the first one out on track. And I think that's it. I think he was so upset with that he practiced solely joining servers, so that way he could always be number one, at least in this regard. Put the camera next to the exhaust pipes and listen to God's song. I guess we'll take a gander at that at some point. But what we will do, folks, on board Jonathan Clifford, Circuit of the Americas, the first qualifying lap of Season 18. We'll go to the 999 as we go into the first corner. Very tight hairpin. You're going uphill. Turn it around and immediately plunge downhill into the S's at COTA, reminiscent of Silverstone, which is a circuit we will be seeing this season. It's left and the right, another left, another right. This one just goes on forever, double apexing it. Almost getting a little bit loose there, and one final left-hand turn to keep you engaged, and why not throw another right one just to really make sure you've got everything squared away. You'll have a little bit of rest here. Flip up one more apex, and then we're going to head onto the back straight here. Plenty of time to sort of just sit there and let your mind gather itself for the next corner. Think of the Kemmel Straight at Spa. Well, this is pretty similar, except for a little bit of elevation change here. You can see going up, kind of crest the hill, come back down. You're going to be looking for your brake marker. So you head up, it's going to be at about 100 meters or so. It's very, very late. I find myself almost zoning out sometimes when I've gone around this track. This tricky technical section coming up. One apex, two. Clifford's fighting his Lamborghini right now. Those tires definitely not up to temp or up to pressure. No pressure for him. Plenty of banners to go under. Double apex right again, almost triple. Think of the Turkish Grand Prix. We've seen that sort of quadruple apexing set of corners, one that I would absolutely love for F1 to go back to. Final turn coming up to the left. It's a bit of a heavier braking spot, and then that timing line actually comes up a lot sooner than you think. Jonathan Clifford, first lap on the board. It's a 2:06.16. Plenty more to come. Let's check in on, I would say, his main rival, Skylar Loverink. It appears as though the livery's been messed up a little bit, unless that is actually what it's supposed to be. He did give me the Jean Alesi livery. However, it seems as though there was some mix-up with the livery sync. As I am seeing the JAE in there, but I'm also seeing what I think is part of Eaton's livery as well. It doesn't matter though. Loverink has just dropped a 2:05.82. We'll see Andre Lloyd getting his first laps in. It'll be 7th place for the 9:37, 2 minutes 7.86. Plenty of time for well, everybody to get settled in, get ready for tonight's race. It is going to be two 30-minute races, so the first qualifying session will go on as usual. That'll lead us into, of course, that first race. And then the second round of qualifying. If you have never seen our sort of super sprints, or two sprint races, depending on who you ask, that second qualifying session's done a little bit differently. So we are going to have, I believe this time it's our top 11 that are going to be doing the second round of qualifying. And then everyone below that will have to go out and set some times. But that is based solely on your finishing position in race number 1. But we'll get to that bridge at some point tonight. Hopefully we cross it. Hopefully we don't burn it. Jane Hernandez, that was the man we wanted to see. Great livery. Gotta love it. Wilson right now in third, 2:06.18 for him. So let's actually take a look at the schedule. I forgot to make a graphic. I was absolutely planning on it and then just never did. We've got, of course, first race here at Circuit of the Americas. Then next week it'll be at Barcelona. Then Suzuka, Silverstone, Paul Ricard, which, if anyone knows me. Then Hungaroring, Nürburgring, and we'll finish it off at Spa. 8 rounds on the schedule for this season. And I believe we're going to have a bye week somewhere in the middle. Unless they changed it on me. And another driver I completely skipped over, terribly sorry, is Phoenix Ciosari. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ciosari. Newer driver coming up from, as far as I'm concerned, Academy. Right now, hasn't sent a lap yet. It's probably just finalizing the setup there. So we'll see where he can pick things up. Gonna be letting Dan Fernandez through. So most of this grid is made up of guys who have already raced in Sprint before. Loverink Hendrickson going top of the charts. Just saw that now. 2-minute 5.002. Just a little bit under 500ths ahead of his teammate. Then a massive gap for Clifford, over half a second. But him and Hendrickson, same car, probably slightly different setups as always. Clifford's probably been running the circuit nonstop since, I would say, maybe 10 a.m. Does some very, very long live streams. I respect the commitment to it. I guess we're almost to the end of qualifying. Feels very, very short. Only 10 minutes. So I believe the second round of qualifying will be 10. I would check fully, but the lovely Octane Online Racing bot that gives us the sprint settings has already turned over to the next race at Barcelona. So we won't know for sure, but Clifford closes the gap up by a couple of tenths. Let's see who else out there is improving. Wilson just lost a couple tenths. It was terrible timing. Andre Lloyd, you know what, on board, let's go. See what the Aston Martin's got in store. This is a car that, like, not many people drive. I feel like it's mostly the McLarens and the Porsches. I think the Audi might be flavor of the month. Or maybe not. I know. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, Simrigs Sprint. Probably should hop back more onto it. But Lloyd right now through the final corner. He's got 3/4 of a second just about as he heads to the line. He'll go from 13th into the top 10. That 2:07.23. So things getting very competitive around the mid-pack. It's rather close from a lot of these guys. Joel Bandera just pushed outside of the top 10 by the newest addition to North American Sprint, but he's got a little bit of time. Could overtake Lloyd, and if he can get anything more, he might push into the 2:06s. But the final seconds of qualifying are going to tick down. Is Bandera on time? No, he's not. He improves but doesn't move up. Misses out Fernandez by 13 thousandths of a second. He'll be 11th, and we are now going to wait for everybody who is out on circuit right now to come back to the start-finish line. Antonique Stapleton will go into the pits. Can't bear to do much with it. We see Hernandez coming around the final corner in the 888 Ford. Where can he go? He's got an improvement. 16th is where he will stay, just behind him. That is going to be Frizza. He'll be 8th, or sorry, not 8th, 6th fastest. And coming out of the final corner, nope. Oh, Craig Pocket, another driver we haven't talked about. Kenneth Portis, though, nice looking livery for Alpha Simsport. 84 right now, sitting in 4th position. Trying to keep up with some improvements. Dan Fernandez being one of them. He got back to the line in time. Still has a minute 53 to go before we close things out, unless the server jumps early, which has happened in the past. We've had some pretty great laps get destroyed simply because of that. He'll go 9th overall here in qualifying. Brian Rasco in the Boatley, still picking his way through Sector 3, as much runoff as he dare uses. Oh, and it just is outside the line. The lap is over. He was on for an improvement. It was going to be, I think, 6/10 or so. But he just stepped outside, got a little bit too greedy. Scott Waters, the only driver out right now. Eduardo Sanchez not setting a lap. That's very surprising. And he's done 2, so track limits not his front. He did a 2:08, 38, which would have put him in, I believe, 14th position. Yeah, just ahead of MacGyver. But that is going to do it for for qualifying number 1. We are now on to the final 3 minutes before this first race, and it is going to be Hendrickson on pole. Now, if you happen to be new to the Sprint Series, first off, welcome. Thank you for joining us. However, if you are not new, and you take a moment to respect the fact of how good the paint job is on the wall there, you know that it is now time for one of my favorite things to do when it comes to the start of these races, and of course that's going to be the grid walk. Getting a good look at the liveries in the start of the season is always the best time to do it, because some people change, some people don't, but either way, it's good to see everything turning out well, for the most part. But Hendrickson on pole for the first race of the season. Right beside him, Skylar Lovrink. We're going to see how these two play together. Of course, last season, Lovrink was in the Audi. Hendrickson was in the Lamborghini, 2 teammates, but very much competing against each other. So it makes you wonder if that will continue or if they will maybe join forces. But Hendrickson with that first pole position. Jonathan Clifford, towards the tail end of last season, he was very much sitting a lot in the top 3. I can't recall off the top of my head if we actually had him outside the top 5, but he has been absolutely consistent race after race, season after season, so he'll be looking to gain a couple of spots, maybe take home the first win of the season, but he'll be joined alongside Kenneth Portis in the Honda. Another season for the 84 on that second row. Andrew Wilson and Chris Frizza, 5th and 6th respectively. And the first non-American of Spencer Brown, hailing from Canada, has sat himself right pretty in position number 7. Some say lucky number, some say it's not. We'll see what happens for this race, and it's Brian Rasco in the Bentley. We just saw him miss out on an improvement at the end of qualifying. Stepped outside track limits, so he'll start 8th. 9th belongs to Dan Fernandez. Another season for him. Hopefully we can see some big moves coming out of the 26. And then the first of our new drivers, Andre Lloyd in the Aston Martin, the Punisher Aston Martin. He hoping to punish the mistakes of those ahead of him as this race progresses and as the season progresses as well. Then Joe Bandera just missing out on the top 10. He'll be 11th. But 10th is right there. Dylan Kaiser and Lucas Lemaire are going to keep each other cozy and comfortable there. 12th and 13th. 14th belongs to MacGyver. Then it's Craig Pocket, Jaden Hernandez. On to Nick Stapleton right there, bottom right in the Ferrari. Beside them is going to be the 404 of Xavier Eaton, just behind Scott Waters. We saw him just complete his lap at the very least. And then Phoenix Ciociari, the other new driver here in North American Sprint. And then Eduardo Sanchez rounds us out for 21 drivers here on the first race of the season. But folks, before we get into things, of course, we have to give a shout out. I have to do my little ad reads for Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. One of the most best well-known in the Australian region, out of Melbourne, Australia. These guys are the real deal. If you're looking to upgrade your sim rig, whether it's yours, someone else's, you got a birthday coming up, anniversary, maybe you just got money you want to spend, well, I'm sure Simrigs will be happy to help you out, servicing all of Australia and New Zealand, no questions asked. But if you live outside of that, well, I'm sure you can send them an email and they'll be happy to do some business with you. And if you guys are supporting us via Patreon, you're going to be getting a 10%, or sorry, not 10%, 5% off your purchases, so take advantage of that. You know that if you're upgrading, things are not going to be cheap by any stretch of the imagination. So thank you to Simrigs once again for sponsoring Season 18 of the Sprint Series. Folks, the parade lap is very much underway. Drivers getting the last little bit of calm that they're going to have for quite a while here this evening. Lining up single file. So we see Hendrickson leading the way ahead of his teammate. You're going to be placing your bets. Now would be the time. I know that Lovrink has been an absolute weapon here in the Sprint Series. season after season. I just really quickly want to zoom the camera out. I know it's great to have it that far forward. But yeah, having Loverink behind you is certainly no easy task. Clifford's managed it, but it's never something that he really enjoys very much. But this time, he's going to have to get around not one, but two Jean Alesi esports drivers, and Lucas Lemaire rocking the Arizona livery. Not the state, but the drink. It's great stuff, honestly. Shoutouts to them for managing to keep it 99 cents. What else we got? Underneath Stapleton, Xavier Eaton, Phoenix, COCRE. We are lining up double file, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be getting into it very, very shortly. You can see Andre Lloyd, first race out, and he is starting in the top 10. But the closest driver that is not a returning face is down in P20. He is effectively by himself, way high up the grid, as we see, who is that going into the pit lane? That was one of the McLarens. I believe that was Bandera coming in. Okay, hopefully it's something that can be solved relatively quickly, but folks, we are on to the front straight for the first time this season. It's going to be a slow crawl, 30 minutes on the clock, and no pit stops necessary. It's just going to be lights to flag for this whole race. And as we come across, the drivers can barely contain their excitement. I can't either. But the green flag is out, and we are underway for Season 18 of the Simrigs Sprint Series. Up the hill we go. It will be Hendrickson leading us into turn number 1. Portis tries to make a move on the right side of the Porsche. There's a huge traffic jam in the background. Cars are turned around every which way. Absolute pandemonium in turn number 1 here at Circuit of the Americas. And more happening, as I believe that is... Oh my god, it is all just kicking off. Everybody's having problems. Everybody is strewn across the racing surface. And just like that, the first virtual safety car of the season. I didn't check the AP region. I would not be surprised if they also picked up a safety car, but there you go. All it took was one turn and everything fell apart. So let's see, while we get through this lap, if we can very quickly grab a replay of that, because that was an absolute mess. Let's try this. Let's see what we can discover. So into turn number 1, looking through, I'm trying to figure out, oh, so there's the first touch. Oh, so that was some, okay, so that was completely started by the 26 of Dan Fernandez, and then Dan gets picked up by the Bentley, and then I think that was COCRE that also got involved. So that explains the safety car, the virtual safety car, rather. Hendrickson and Loverink, Clifford and Portis. I think pretty much everybody in the top 10 got away with it. One driver who got a lot out of this was actually Andre Lloyd. He's gone up to 6th position. See one of the Fords, I believe. MacGyver's grabbed a position or a few. Kaiser as well. Appears as though we have had AP Yellow having some problems. Now, drivers are not ghosted. It's very important to remember that during virtual safety cars. You are not ghosted. It's not the start of the race, so if you do make contact, hefty penalty. Check the track map here, as I may or may not have forgotten how to have the little mini one up, so if someone wants to help me with that, please, I'd love you forever. Anyways, we should be racing here very shortly. Hendrickson with control of the field. Throttles pushed down. Him and Loverink, a great start for the first lap of the race. Hopefully staying clean as we do head up. You can already see the gap forming to Jonathan Clifford. Now, drivers have to be careful, cannot go for an overtake until they cross the line, but we are going to see a move already. Lemaire on the inside of Sanchez into one. Lloyd runs wide just ahead, and there is Bandera, who is out on the surface. Or, sorry, not Bandera. Yes, Bandera. He's out there. That's good. Oh, behind. Sorry, I'm getting my cars mixed up. That's Kaiser. Saw the livery, got them mixed up. Got to make sure everyone gets their liveries in. Let's check Lucas Lemaire. Right behind him is going to be Spencer Brown. Let's ride on board with the Ferrari. He's got a great overview of 1, 2, 3, 4 cars ahead. Lloyd leading the pack. And right now you see all that damage on Lemaire. Brown gets a bit of a run, but he's got to just get off the throttle a little bit. Does not want to go into the back of his fellow Ferrari. This could be the first chance for a move for the number 12. He is not going to do it. Sanchez also making a move. He's going to try to switch on the inside. He'll start the drag race with Kaiser. There's Lloyd just ahead. He's gotten out of this one, and the Ford of MacGyver's actually starting to get a little bit hot there. Straight line might be the Ford's strongest point, especially at Circuit of the Americas. Now we are going to see the dive on the inside for Sanchez, 3 wide, almost making contact, and somehow Lemaire gets out of that one scot-free. Or sorry, not Lemaire. It was Brown that got out of that one. And he'll just go around the outside of MacGyver, who now sets him back up for Lemaire to hopefully take advantage of this. And Alan MacGyver is going to play the waiting game. Cannot attack just yet. We'll check back in with another Ford Craig Pocket. Brian Rasco right behind him. Behind him is Phoenix Ciori, who has fallen well off the pace. However, one driver who has fallen off the pace, which is very unusual, is Skylar Loverink. You can see the superiority of the Lamborghini here at Circuit of the Americas. One in front, one behind, one's a teammate, one is opposition. But your top 3 keeping it close. Portis with Wilson in tow. These two guys very, very comfortable with each other. Plenty of seasons together here in Sprint. So they know each other better than anybody. But it's going to be a bit of a waiting game. Now we do see some side-by-side pocket with Rasco getting a run out of that first corner. And the Boatley, despite being pretty big, has absolutely no problem getting the power down and getting that move done. And now Scott Waters. Some choppy waters right now, as that line isn't the best for either of them. Waters struggling with the S's. Rasco anchored to the ground perfectly. A switch one way, a switch the other way. And that'll be the move done for the 135. Oh, almost a little contact there as the big Ford of Pocket just shoves his way through, drops the shoulder, gives just enough space. Now onto that back straight. We know the Ferraris are quick in a straight line, and I think another car might be just a little bit faster. Check back in with your top 3. Pulling up on Joel Bandera. He went into the pits on the opening lap. Not certain what that was for. Maybe had a little bit of foresight into the future and decided to back out. But this should cause a couple of problems. Andre Lloyd and Eduardo Sanchez starting to get quite close with each other. Does Sanchez have what it takes to get around the 937? This is a new cut of driver for the 21. So he has to spend this lap not only figuring out his pace, but figuring out where those weak spots are. Despite that, Lloyd has done an excellent job getting away already, starting to pull out a bit of a gap, and everyone's starting to spread out a bit after that first little bit of chaos. We are seeing some of this very relaxed style of racing. Everything should be up to temp within this lap or the next one. Frizza in the pit lane. Not certain what that was. That looked like a teleport because he went from way up the grid all the way down. I don't know if he's having mechanical issues with his setup or what the case may be. We'll check back in with Lloyd. If you wanted a trial by fire, you've certainly got it, and thankfully CrowdStrike won't be letting us down. Sanchez, look at how much speed. He's putting all the pressure. Only 9 minutes gone here in this first race. Later on the brakes. Could this be a little bit of an over-under? Tried it, but could not find the traction. Of course, the Aston Martin in the way. Now the slipstream given over to the 21. But it doesn't matter. I think Lloyd has his car set up for the straights, because he is just pulling away like he's getting his own slipstream. But the problem is, Wilson is too far ahead to actually give it over, and a great big bit of aerial acrobatics there as Lloyd goes fumbling over those sausage curbs on the inside. Surprisingly didn't lose it, but this could invite Sanchez in side by side, but a right-hander's coming up. Is Lloyd feeling brave? Under the bridge they go. Sanchez powers it to the outside, gets the move done. Lloyd dropping down into position 7. Behind him, Spencer Brown sits. Really starting to lose it. Lloyd not confident of all, but he's later on the brakes. Is this where he gains time? Maybe. But you can see Sanchez carries more speed throughout the entire corner. Now Spencer Brown there in the Ferrari. Is it close enough? Nobody in this sort of backfield is close enough. Although Scott Waters off the circuit. He's going to fall down a position. Maybe another one as Stapleton comes through. Same with CRCRE side by side. Some contact there turning in. And it looks like, yeah, Scott Waters. I'm not certain what happened there. So he drops a few positions from 15th to 18th. Let's see what's going on up here. Loverank is a second behind Hendrickson. A little bit more, a little bit less. And look at how much these top 3 have already pulled away from the 4th and 5th place drivers of Portis and Wilson. Now let's see what the setups are. How does this work out? Does it work out for Wilson? I don't think it does. He is pulling closer. The slipstream is there. I think Portis has just enough top end. Yeah, and off the throttle for Wilson. If he was closer, maybe he could have gone for a move, but thought better of it. Just behind is, I believe that is Bandera. There's Sanchez way in the background, so a lot of these guys kind of just on their own. Lloyd continuing to take a beating in the form of positions as he's gone down to 8th. As Brown has gotten around, and Kaiser's now setting up for something. Let's see what these two can pull off as we go under the observation deck. You wonder if Lemaire and MacGyver are also just slowly inching their way forward. Kaiser looks to the inside. He's not going to have the space there. Brown picks up a drive-through for track limits. And speaking of track limits, Kaiser, all of it to try to get the straightest possible exit out of this final corner. Lemaire, MacGyver joining in on the fight. Let's ride on board with the Arizona Ice-T Ferrari, as it's going to be 1 position lost and then 2 positions lost as both Kaiser and Lemaire get around Lloyd. And here comes MacGyver. He may have to MacGyver a way to get around as we head into the S's. Lloyd started in 10th after that first corner bit of chaos. He went up to 6th, and now he is right back to where he started. And Dan Fernandez all over the place. He was looking to make a move there, but I think he just arrived a little bit too soon. And Rasco as well, starting to gain from these guys all fighting. And as fighting is McLaren. And now MacGyver's on the inside. Could we see 3 wide going into the corner? I sure hope so, and we do. MacGyver goes to the inside. Lloyd follows behind. Fernandez setting up for a bit of an over-under, but the speed isn't there. But now he's got the slipstream. Now he's going to pull out alongside him. And he is going to get around him. Lloyd, it's another position lost as Brian Rasco. Looking like Hydro Thunder with the Boatley out there as he gets the move done. Up to 12th. Oh, Rasco thought about it. He thought about gambling a little bit, but we are not in Vegas, my friend. But Lloyd all the way from 10th to 13th in just a few corners as Lloyd gets a little bit drift happy there in the Ford. What a turn of events there for the 937. Great racing. No contact, just gotten around cleanly. Speaking of getting around, top three getting around quite nicely, and your fourth and fifth still very much intertwined with each other. Spencer Brown's come in to serve this drive-through penalty, so keep an eye on the number 12, who is currently 7th. We'll see just where he falls once he gets to the end of pit lane. Excruciating here at COTA. Now Dan Fernandez starting to look and see where MacGyver could maybe provide an opening. Just sort of puts it right on the racing line. Fernandez wanted to go down that route, but it just wasn't going to happen. And this has given Rasco something he would love more of, and that is overtakes here. But he's not going to do it here in the S's, not by a long shot. You see a yellow out on circuit. Not certain who that was for. Not seeing anybody. Banderas in the pit lane again. So something must be going wrong. It's either mechanical, it could be connection. Don't really know. Look at these gaps already. So just there's Lemaire. MacGyver's very hot into the corner. Fernandez and Rasco. Lloyd just now getting into the corner. So he has completely fallen off here in race number 1. Perhaps seeing if there's maybe a setup change later on. Spencer Brown has bowed out of this first race. That drive-through maybe a little bit too much. So really the battles right now between 4th and 5th, and then 7th, 8th, and 9th. The top 3 are slowly just building their gaps. Oh, Wilson is ready for this. He is ready to give Portis a run for his money. Their laps have been so close to each other. Only a couple of hundredths separate. Last laps, we'll see it here. Oh, Wilson had a couple of tenths this time. Maybe a bit of a Constantina getting to a position to get around a little too late. Portis counting his lucky stars that has been the case. But for how much longer? Will that hold? 14 minutes to go here in race number 1. It is still Hendrickson leading ahead of Loverink and Clifford, your top 3. A stone's toss from each other. There is a pretty sizable gap down to Portis and Wilson. That's your top 5. Sanchez, Lemaire, Fernandez, Rasco, and MacGyver will be your top 10. Everyone else will follow suit. You can already see how big some of these gaps are. And we have to check back in with Andre Lloyd as Dylan Kaiser has arrived. I don't think there was any damage. It looked like there might have been some front end damage. Oh, there is. Yeah, that front of the Lamborghini has definitely seen better days. But I don't think it's affecting the performance that much. Craig Pocket as well. Right there. God, that's such a good looking car. I need that livery. I need to drive that. Oh, MacGyver's picked up a penalty. MacGyver's picked up track limits. So we'll have a few laps to serve that. It looks like Rasco got around him because of his excursions. Was that a little bump there from Kaiser? Throwing the elbow as he gets around Lloyd. And now, Craig Pocket, the floor is yours, my friend. All-American muscle. Look at how fast he closes in with this slipstream even. It's completely unnecessary. Pocket sailing past well and truly over the horizon. The seas continue to churn for the 937. The stars and bars too fast for the Aston Martin to handle. But does Pocket feel confident about Kaiser? That front end damage, does it play a part? Oh, very, very deep into the corner. Same with Lloyd. So the time he would have lost doesn't really matter. Lucas Lemaire, Dan Fernandez. This is 7th. MacGyver's come in, so he'll serve his drive-through penalty there. He is just peeping into frame. So he's 10th. We do see another yellow. Oh, boy. Oh, Scotty Waters having all sorts of problems here. So let's get into the aerial replay and see what we can find. Oh, this... Okay, so that is Ian and Ciorciari coming together for something. They have both gone around and both getting into probably the worst possible position for either driver to be in, especially with Waters arriving on the scene and getting a face full of Porsche. What you want to do. Oh, look at Rasco starting to do battle here. Dan Fernandez going to be held up high. Does he try to go for the over-under? Maybe force Rasco into a bit of deep braking. I think he has. That drive might be there, but it's not. The Bentley tuned for straight line, and the slipstream more like an entire tunnel with how big that car is, but Fernandez just can't get anything from that. Perhaps a more tight setup for these twistier sections. He was right there on the bumper, could not get through. Oh, in pocket with Fernandez. These two getting close. Or sorry, that was Kaiser. So it looks like Pocket got around Kaiser and immediately lost the position into the braking zone at the end of the straightaway. So that is that. He's going to definitely have another attempt at it. Rasco just climbing through the field. He has been making pass after pass after pass. 7th might be up for grabs soon enough. The Bentley has been surprisingly effective. I don't think... Oh, the Bentley... That's interesting. The Bentley has 2 kilos added to it, and the Ferrari has 26 kilos, so that is also probably why. We do run ballast here. Out of all the cars on the grid, the Aston Martin has lost 7 kilos. The Honda's lost 11. I don't know why it needs that. The McLaren's lost 1, and that is it. Porsches have had 2 added. Lambos have had 18 added onto them. The Ford, the Mustangs, have had 8. And the Ferraris, like I said, 26. The Bentley has 2. That is it for this grid for what these drivers have. Of course, the Bentley, no one suspects the Bentley until it's right there. And speaking of right there, Clifford right there with Loverink. Lemaire getting a bit nervous here at Bentley. His big ol' eyes seem to be getting closer, and they very much are, as the slipstream being added to the pace of the 135. They're going to be side by side into the braking zone, and I think Rasco has got it done. Yes, he does. Up to 7th position for him. We're going to check back in with Loverink. Clifford, this has been a sight that he has been very familiar with here in Sprint Series, right behind Loverink. He's been close like this before. He's been even closer. But you can see just how close he is. He's going to just dip out of the slipstream as we head up the hill. Hendrickson, very comfortable race from him. He has not had to worry about much other than just making sure that his car is pointed in the right direction. Lemaire now coming under fire from Fernandez, who goes down the inside. Lucas Lemaire drops to 9th position. The 2 drivers behind are now the 2 drivers ahead. Can he make it work? Fernandez, solid bit of work there. Oh, this might possibly have been pulled a little bit too early on the trigger. As they climb up the hill. Yeah, Lemaire can't go for it. So Lucas Lemaire dropped to 9th. Loverink building that gap right back up. It was 0.2. Now it is just about half a second. I'm not certain if Loverink can really... I don't think he can catch Hendrickson. He may be able to stay ahead of Clifford. Both Hendrickson and Clifford were in the Lamborghini last season. So for Lovrink, this is familiar territory. Although the car he's driving might not be. Porsche notorious for sort of that back end stepping out on you, but this guy has had absolutely no problems so far. Any oddities with any of these cars he's had to deal with, just here in Sprint and in general, he's had absolutely no problems with. He is one of, if not the best drivers here in North American Sprint, and right now he's playing second fiddle to his teammate. I don't think he's really defending against much of anything. If we check the laps, that's interesting. Clifford's, okay, I was going to say, Clifford's last lap was about 0.2 quicker, but then I was reminded that he also was dealing with Lovrink. Fastest lap still belonging to the 757. That is a 2:05.25. Next closest person just happens to be the man we got the camera on, Skylar Lovrink at 2:05.31. And best lap for Clifford was a 2:05.40. So pretty standard bits of best lappage we see from your top three. As Eaton picks up a drive-through penalty for track limits. We've had a pretty good lull in the action. Just under 5.5 to go before we get into race number 2, or rather qualifying number 2 before we get into race number 2. Keep in mind, your top 11 are going, or no, sorry, it's top 10. Your top 10 finishers for this race will be reverse grid for race number 2, and then everybody else is going to have to vie for positions. That would be 11th all the way down to 19th. So if your favorite driver's in the top 10, keep note of that. If your favorite driver's outside of that, well, make sure you do a little bit of math when we get into qualifying. You're going to need it. Lloyd here back in 12th position. There's MacGyver. He's come out in 13th. So we head through the S's. Lloyd has been struggling. As of late, his laps have not really been quick enough to keep the opposition at bay. Although through the S's, he might have an advantage over MacGyver. However, once we get onto those straights, it is going to be every horse in the stable opening up for the 477. And he should be just within slipstream range. In fact, he might not even need it because of just how quickly... Oh, Lloyd actually gets out of the way, so Lloyd has recognized the speed of this driver in the Mustang and has decided it is better for him to not fight it, although he might have done that a little too early. As, oh, Pocket here's off. That's with Kaiser. Oh, and another touch. He goes around. He picks up Kaiser again, and they are both going to pirouette. Pocket pirouetting again. Not certain what happened there. Let's run this one back. Oh, this starts way, way beyond. So MacGyver comes in. A lot of entry speed here. Very late on the brakes. Oh, and Kaiser just gives him a little bit of a touch. That pushes him wide. Or sorry, this is Pocket. And then Pocket just goes into the side once and twice. Kaiser getting the full 180. Pocket opts for about 90 degrees of rotation one way and then the other. Is effectively given the position back, so in that regard, I'm fine with it. Hasn't dropped too far back, but all the work he did to get up there is now undone. Has to do it all again. These gaps have really opened up, although Hendrickson maybe lifting a little bit, giving his opposition a chance to maybe catch up. These guys have been well and truly joined at the hip. Actually, it looks as though the Ford there of Hernandez blue flag maybe scrunched these guys together, but when they get back to that start-finish line, it will be the final lap. Laps are looking at about 2:06. That should be the case, so it is going to be one final lap here for these three. Hendrickson has led every lap so far here in race 1, and he's just got to lead one more to take the first win of the season. Dylan Kaiser again with pocket, and now this time the outside line goes to the Mustang. He's very deep on the brakes, but is the top end of the 48 enough to hold off the All-American muscle here? He goes very defensive, but it's just not going to matter right now because surging ahead on the right side is Pocket. Later on the brakes, Kaiser going back on the inside somehow keeps the position. And Pocket again denying, but now it's around the outside. Is there any room there? No, there is not. These two, blow after blow, and what a blow that is. A huge hit from Pocket. He's slowing down. I don't think that was intentional. As Kaiser goes past, there goes Lloyd. Or not Kaiser, sorry. That was MacGyver that went past. I know my drivers, don't worry. What a way for that to end. It could have been a great fight. And it ended the way it did. Your top three still squabbling, and Portis with Wilson. This has been a very consistent gap for both of these guys. Incredibly great stuff. Hendrickson has just under a minute of driving to go, about 40 seconds. And he will take the first win of the season. Your top three have absolutely opened up a gap to fourth place. Have never been separated by maybe more than a couple of seconds. And if this is a preview of what's to come for this season, I think we are going to be in for quite the championship battle. William Hendrickson, one more corner to go. The checkered flag is going to be out, and the first race of the season will go to the 757 of Hendrickson. Lovrink comes home in second, and Jonathan Clifford is going to be P3 once it is all said and done. Portis has held off Wilson beautifully. Just a couple of tenths between them at the line. Your top five. Sanchez will be very happy to start out here in position number 6. Just behind him, I believe that is... no, that's Eaton, actually. Eaton will be in 18th. Hernandez is in 17th. Rasco in the big old Bentley has done a tremendous job bounding over the curb one more time, and he'll be lucky number 7. Fernandez finishing in 8th position. Lemaire's had a pretty quiet end of the race. He'll be number 9, and Alan MacGyver, after those two cars way in the background came together, is looking at a top 10 finish. Lloyd wants something more. Pocket is defending now from MacGyver, or Kaiser. This may be a last-ditch effort, a last-second pass, but Alan MacGyver, he's got it done, and he'll take that last spot in the top 10. Lloyd, in his first race out, goes 11th. Pocket. You wonder how all of this is going to play out in post-race investigations, if you will. 11th for him, 12th for him, 13th for Kaiser. On to Nick Stapleton will be 14th. We are just waiting on Scotty Waters. He'll be 15th. And then Phoenix Siorciari will be 16th. Now, drivers do have the option to have the stewarding team look at anything after the race. So while the results are where they are, we could see some penalties dished out, and how that shakes things up will be reflected in the standings. But Siorciari's first race out for North American Sprint, and he will finish up in 16th. Hernandez and Eaton as well behind, and Banderas had quite the interesting bit of racing here. So now that we are here in second quali, 10 minutes on the clock, your top 10 are going to sit in the pit lane. Everybody else, though, is going to head out there. And the first one looks to be the 888 of Jaden Hernandez. So one time you'll never see Clifford being the first one out is the second race of your back-to-back. So 30 more minutes after this for race number 2, and then drivers will get ready for Barcelona. That'll be next week. If you want a bit of insight as to what we're going to be working with for that 12 minutes of qualifying, or sorry, 15 minutes of qualifying, and then we'll go into a 60-minute race. There is going to be one mandatory stop, but that is going to be just for fuel. There is going to be a fixed refueling time. Normally when you do a pit stop, you would maybe do tires and fuel at the same time, depending on what you're doing. Those happen simultaneously, but if it's just fuel, then we do put a bit of a time, a bit of a restriction, let's say, on how long you're sitting there. Because if you just went in for fuel, we didn't say how long you had to be. You could just drop 1 liter of fuel, be in and out. You'd basically be stopped longer than you would actually be getting your car serviced. So if I'm not mistaken, it should be 25 seconds for that pit stop. But that's all next week's stuff, so don't worry about that for right now. Of course, 30 minutes coming up here for race number 2. Obviously, there's not going to be any pit stops, because that would be silly. But looking in the pit lane, you can see your top 10 all sitting there. Hernandez, Sanchez, Waters is heading out. Wilson's chilling. Hendrickson is also chilling. Beside him, that's Rasco. We've got Loverink, MacGyver, Lemaire, Portis, and Clifford. So those 10 not participating here in quali. But Hernandez will have the first lap that will be set. Not here, but next time he comes around. We'll see what he can do. God, that flyby sounds amazing. I wish it was just a little bit more bassy. That's my only complaint with the Mustang, is it's not bassy enough. So, I mean, I'm not saying Kunos is gonna go in there and fix things up, but it would be nice. It'd be a nice little change of pace, you know? But, well, that's gonna be something we probably won't see, as they are hard at work on Assetto Corsa Evo. For anyone that hasn't seen it, the next generation of Assetto Corsa has been announced. When they're dropping it, it appears to be about probably towards the tail end of the year. As they've had their promotional material getting dropped. It's on Steam already. You can wish list it right now. Honestly, looking at the screenshots, I mean, interiors look absolutely incredible. Same with the exteriors, and then just some of the shots of the tracks. Oh my god, it's amazing. Absolutely stunning. Of course, the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife is going to be in there. We won't be going there for this season, but we'll at least go to the GP circuit. And of course, they have all those screenshots of the Imola circuit. I'm excited to see how it goes. They said that they're going to be working or setting the game up so that way the modders can effectively just pick up where they left off. I'm just trying to figure out how the hell you actually manage to do better than Assetto Corsa. But who knows? Technology changes, so does time, and I'll be there just to drive. I don't do modding. I don't have those kind of skills, trust me. And maybe we'll do something here in the OR. I'm not certain. There haven't really been any talks amongst the staff from what I've seen. We've all just been focusing on sprint. But the first laps here, Jaden Hernandez, 2:09.28. will set the benchmark for the second round of qualifying. Everybody else is currently out on their out lap, so we will not be seeing any improvements. But Pocket will start his first flying lap here, and just behind him is the Bricks Racing Ferrari of Frizza. Very interesting not to see Frieza sitting in pit lane right now. As Lloyd gets the fastest lap set for these guys. 2:08.58. Behind him, that looks to be the 70 of Ciori. Oh, and Lloyd. Yeah, Lloyd's getting pushed off. He wants to have a clean racetrack ahead of him. Craig Pocket. He's getting his lap done, or lap started. Same with Stapleton. Bandera. There it is. Fastest lap, 2:06.85. He did not have the best start to the race. Immediately into the pits and pretty much sat there. So we'll see what he can do. Dylan Kaiser's there. Xavier Eaton as well. Phoenix doing his thing. Scotty Waters. Stapleton Pocket. And Hernandez. Hernandez is improving right now. A couple of tenths. This won't be enough to overtake Lloyd unless he manages to find a whole heap of time in this lap. Whew, what a sound. What a sound. But he is dancing with a 2:08. As we see Scott Waters putting in a 2:14.69. Not as nice as you would like, but he'll take it. And that big old Ford into that final braking zone. Doesn't really like to go slow. It only wants to go fast. And there it is, the 2:08.96.7 for Hernandez. Who else improves? Craig Pocket. He had a 2:09 on the last lap, but I think he went just outside of track limits, so that lap deleted. But we'll see where he ends up. Gets the power down. Goes to fourth ahead of Waters. And just a couple of tenths behind Hernandez. Stapleton not improving. Phoenix as well, although this should be a valid lap for the 70 as he goes fifth fastest with that 2:12. So he'll at least put his name on the map here. Dylan Kaiser, ooh, not getting another lap. That lap doesn't count. 2:12. Xavier Eaton could improve here. His lap is valid, but he's very deep into that final corner. Goes fifth fastest though. Ahead of fellow Porsche driver Ciari. I think just behind him was Bandera. Bandera hasn't improved, 6 seconds back, so probably getting a little bit out of shape there. But this will be his final lap. It's amazing how quickly 10 minutes can get away from you, especially on a circuit like this, with how laps are, you know, at least 2 minutes. Feels like you don't really have that much time, and that doesn't account for the outlap. And all the time you burn just moseying through the pit lane. So let's see. Frieza has a 2:07.93. That'd be enough for second, which would put him 12th, but has not set a valid lap. He has to put one here if he wants to start any higher than where he was before. Stapleton. It's just about even. Who else is improving? Craig Pocket. He's got a couple of tenths. Hernandez is in the pit. He's done. He's decided he cannot go any further. If Pocket keeps this pace up, he will take third spot away from the 888. Oh, was that over the line? I don't know if it was. That certainly was. A 2:09.41 would not have helped. But he has this final lap to try and find any bit of extra time he can. Ciari goes across, stays 6th, but thankfully another lap is there for him. Stapleton, I think, will just get to the line. So if Stapleton wants to go once more, they can, but I don't think they are. Nope, they'll settle for that 5th. 2:10.14. Behind is one of the Porsches of... that's Eaton. Eaton's dropped to 2:10. So the only drivers out there, it's Frizza. Let's see where Frizza goes. Frizza should very easily go all the way to the top with this lap. Incredibly talented. So what is it going to be? A 2:06.85. He beats Bandera by 0.02 of a second. Are you kidding me? Lloyd improves as well to be within half a second of the top time. Frizza showing us what it means to set one hell of a lap in Ciori. The only driver out on circuit right now. It's very, very lonely out there. But he is improving. So let's see what he can do. Where he can go right now. Is sitting 8th here. So if you plug that into your plus 10, well, it's going to be starting 18th position. But he is going to need a monumental amount of pace, which he's just not getting. He's deep into the corner and runs it outside. There it is. He was pushing in those final laps, but unfortunately it's not going to go the way he wants. So, on top of the fact that we will probably also maybe definitely do another grid walk because it's my show right now. Also, you guys like to see the cars. And everyone likes showing off what they've done. I'll explain the procedure for this the second race. It's a little tricky at times for some people. So obviously we had the bottom drivers go out. The top 10 stayed put right where they were at. So what's going to happen is we still have our standard warm-up time. Nothing's changed in that regard. Drivers will have a chance to get the final little bit of setups done. But what will happen is once the drivers are given full control, they will not be moving right away. The race director will call up the top 10 in the order they are going to be placed via their finishing position at the end of race number 1. And then what's going to happen is everybody else will go up in the order that they finished their qualifying session with. So that's going to be 11th all the way down to 20th. And then from there, we will do our usual song and dance of an opening lap, or sorry, a parade lap, and then we'll get into the action. 30 more minutes on the clock. And we'll see what can happen. Now, these second races are always a bit tricky sometimes, because you have these fast guys having to pick their way through everybody in front of them, and it can cause some pretty close racing, but it also kind of causes a little bit of heartbreak as drivers who tend to be closer to those they either find in their mirrors or well and truly behind them, or well and truly in front of them, have to very quickly adapt with how things are going to go. And it's never easy by any means. So this will be the first chance that drivers have to get accustomed to this, get used to this. This is not going to be the only race that is formatted like this. I won't tell you which one it is, because 1, I don't want to spoil the surprise, and 2, I forgot. But we will get to that soon enough. The last 30 seconds are ticking down. Drivers are very much getting those cars on. They want to be out and ready on the circuit as soon as humanly possible. And you'll get to see that reverse grid ordering. So if you just remember the finishing of race number 1, it will be a lot of fun to see how things go out, especially because I won't be the one out there. So now, race director is going to be calling out who goes where. And we'll see who it is. First one out of the gate, none other than Alan MacGyver, finishing in the top 10. Is now going to start up at the front. Behind him is Lemaire. There is Fernandez, Ryan Rasco coming out of the pit, or out of the starting grid. They're going to try to line it up. We'll see how straight of a line we can get here in North America. I know in the past. Oh, that's a very straight looking line. Come on, boys. We're almost done. You got Sanchez. You've got the other McLaren. I believe that is Wilson. There is Portis, Clifford, and then Loverink, and finally Hendrickson. And with all of those drivers out of the way, the rest of the field can come forward. Get ready for race number 1. Craig Pocket, he's ready to go. See his fellow Ford driver, Shane Hernandez, ahead of him. Andre Lloyd just beyond that, and right behind him, Ananique Stapleton there. And the 2 Porsches of Eden and CO Ciari. And I think rounding out the rest of them is going to be the Ferrari there of Waters, and then it is going to be Dylan Kaiser. Starting from the back of the grid. Now, there is going to be a bit of a delayed start, just due to the change. So we will have a slower approach speed to turn number 1. Hopefully, it is a bit cleaner than last time, as according to those in chat. Asia Pacific yellow split had some problems. But listen, everything's bigger in Texas, especially when you got North American drivers, so of course we have to have a wreck even worse. That goes on for far longer than it actually should. But I don't think that will happen, hopefully, God willing. But Alan MacGyver really taking it in, just knowing that he's at the front of the field and everybody else is going to be behind him. The rest of the field getting those tires warmed up. A lot of weaving going on. Any little bit of extra heat they can get in before this first race will be an absolute godsend. Look at the race time. 8:06 p.m. in game. For some of these drivers, it actually is 8:06 p.m. For other people, such as myself, it's actually about 10. But lower temperatures, 27 on track, 27 ambient. Still doing a little bit of wiggling there, getting the best bits. But now we see side by side. No, not side by side. We have not been told to line up just yet. But we should be seeing it very soon, and there it is. So we're gonna have a little bit of confusion here. This is always a little tricky for drivers to figure out, but it seems like we've gotten it. We've got it pretty good. So MacGyver leads the field. He's gonna have the inside line. Lemaire will be on the outside, although Fernandez has a great opportunity to get an overtake early. Same with Rasco. Rasco, with the pace he had, could he actually make it to the top, and could he stay there by the end of the race? That is going to be tricky, especially with Sanchez and Wilson and Portis and pretty much everyone else in that top 10 right behind. But folks, we are on to the front straight. Race number 2 here of the Simrigs Sprint Series North American split. 30 minutes on the clock, no pit stops, reverse grid, your top 10. Everybody else is lining up, and how they finish their qualifying. That delayed start could shake things up, but the green flags are out. We're racing. Lovering already starting to go side by side into turn number 1 with Portis just about 3 wide through turn 1. It's a lot cleaner this time. It's a lot of bumping and grinding here as Rasco makes a move onto Fernandez. Portis losing out a position there to Wilson, and look at Clifford being tailed by both John and Lacey Esports. A touch from Hendrickson on the back, but somehow Clifford doesn't get caught up in that. The seas are parted as we saw Fernandez, and I couldn't see who else that was, but those two guys just getting split wide open. And now the race is on. Bandera starting to eye up Frizza here for 9th position. Lloyd is in 11th. Looks like those two drivers that were involved in that lap 1 bit of chaos have gotten themselves back on track. Brian Rasco is going to have to go the long way around the outside here of Lemaire as we get onto the back straight. There's a touch. You got to keep in mind the setups. How do they all play together? Look at all these cars. 20 going down the back straight here at COTA, side by side for third position. And I don't think the pace is there. Switching around a little bit. No moves. Oh, Rasco later on the brakes. Lemaire, is that move getting it done? Yes, it is. Rasco just gets a little bit extra out of the corner. Side by side now with Portis and Wilson as these two start to do battle. And you can see Clifford and Loverank starting to pull in as well. This is going to be a very close bit of battling here. Hendrickson almost going a little bit too hot. We're going to get actually on board here with the Lamborghini. This will give us a great overview of all of these guys. The inside lines opened up for one John Lacey esports driver, and the second one's going to immediately take advantage of that opportunity as the two Lambos continue to clash here on the opening laps here for race number 2. MacGyver has kept the lead, but for how much longer can he do it? So over the start-finish line, MacGyver, Rasco, Lemaire, Wilson, Portis, Loverank, Clifford, Hendrickson, Frizza, Bondaria top 10. Then Sanchez and Lloyd in the picture, but just looking in from the outside here. And everybody else starting to get across the line. Hernandez is spun around and has gotten pointed back the right direction by the Ferrari of Waters. I'm wondering if maybe Pocket went into him into turn 1. It looked like he did. Oh, and MacGyver's lost his top spot. Rasco's gone through. Lemaire's coming back now. Wants to take revenge, and the party has arrived very much so. Ladies and gentlemen, Hendrickson is looking for a move around the outside. Now the inside of Clifford, Portis, and Loverank, and Wilson, and Lemaire. It is 3 sets of drivers side by side. The inside lane coming up here. Oh, it looks like 3 wide as a bump on the back of Clifford's gonna spin him around. The Bricks Racing Ferrari of Frezza is the culprit in all of this. And now it is going to be Clifford having to do a lot of extra work to get back off the grid. Portis is continuing this fight as Lemaire is being eyed up. He does have that bit of extra speed. He will go down the inside. I think Loverank will follow as well. So Lemaire, he has fallen off, and now he's on the inside. He's trying to just keep Hendrickson behind him as best he can. It's not the easiest thing in the world for a driver like that behind you, but he's doing all he can. Hendrickson forcing the issue. Stays on the inside, but the speed on exit is given over to Lemaire. Sanchez starting to also get a little bit fiery here. Has he gotten around Hendrickson? He has. So Hendrickson having a bit of a moment. That puts the 21 ahead. And Frizza as well. Oh, Sanchez missed a downshift. Very late on, or maybe an upshift rather. And look at Lloyd. He's sort of bumping. He's bumping Frizza along, telling him to get the show on the road. He's had enough of this. And he does have the inside for turn number 1. He goes for 1. He tries to go for 2, and he spins Hendrickson around. I had a feeling he was going to get a little bit eager there. A little bit too greedy. And what was looking like a potential 9th has become 16th. Lloyd has a lot to learn here in North America, and I'm sure we'll be watching him grow as this season develops. But we'll check back in up front right now. Lemaire and Sanchez, Portis, MacGyver, Loverank. Oh boy, this is looking pretty damn good. Loverank later on the brakes here. You can see Portis on the outside. He's going to just push his way through, saying, this is my position. And Loverank very slow, and now with MacGyver and Portis, 2 cars that generally have a better top end than the Porsche, plus a slipstream, just walking away. Does Portis look for a move? He does. Very late on the brakes. Same with Loverank. Oh, there's just enough between the two of them. And Loverank picks up 4th. He does get around MacGyver, who's going to continue to fall down. Loverank knowing pretty much everything about everyone in any car at any given time. And while this has all been going down, as drivers have been bumping and grinding and having problems and climbing through the field, Rasco has been doing pretty good of just keeping himself up there. Has fastest lap right now at that 2:07.38. That was his last lap time. So very newly set. And by this time, we should be getting some of the best laps out of these tires. And Portis, or sorry, yes, Portis right now. Giving a slipstream over, but I don't know how much it's actually doing because Loverink is still trailing. But closer now. Gotta love it, though. These guys showing up, showing what's happening. Oh, what was that back there? MacGyver's getting a little bit loose right now, and Sanchez takes full advantage of that down the inside. Has absolutely no other questions about it. The horse getting a little unruly. MacGyver's got to get that thing saddled down. Behind them, there is Joel Bondera with Jonathan Clifford. Jonathan is having to just get his way back up the field after the spin from earlier. And he's gotten a drive. Does he go down the inside? He's trying it every little bit of space he can. Somehow within track limits it looked like. Is he later on the brakes though? He is. He's just going to cut off Bondera. Bondera had the line, but it just wasn't going to happen. And now you see Hendrickson and Frizza. The battle for P10. As they go past, I think Hendrickson should have it. With the slipstream being given over. Looking on the inside, he's just got to be later on the brakes by a couple of meters. That he does. Almost taking off the mirror there of Frizza. And now the 757 back to where he started this race. And Loverank continuing to fight with Portis. Elbows out side by side. A little bit of beating and banging between the two of them. Portis and Loverank, many seasons racing with and against each other, and Portis is saying, you've got the experience, you know how I race, now put it to good use. You've got that Jean Alesi tag, let's see how well that actually suits you, or whether it's something I should be wearing. Not making this easy for your defending champion. That straight line speed might be Portis' saving grace. I don't know what these sort of more technical sections are looking like for Portis. But if there's one thing I know is that if he can survive long enough to get to a straight and keep the gap as wide as he can, he might be able to hold on. But by how much and for how long? Loverank is definitely one of those not if but when drivers. It is very scary when you see him bearing down. Thankfully, I've never had the displeasure of having Loverank behind me, but I've certainly been on board with drivers who have had that experience, so it's nice to be here in the booth. And right now, Portis is one such driver, has to go defensive here. Loverank, does he have the switch back? He tries it, but Portis, seeing into the future, the crystal ball is looking crystal clear as he covers that off, does not give the Porsche a drive. And even with the slipstream, Loverank is not gaining as much as he would like. Portis slightly defensive line here. Loverank will try to go around the outside, but again, plans thwarted. And if these guys keep fighting, Sanchez could be joining the mix here very soon. You can see just how much Portis is being harassed right now. Loverank truly under that spoiler for God knows how many laps of how many corners. Let's check back a little bit as we do see Frizza with Fernandez behind. A lot more lively now that we've got the reverse grid. This is the one thing I always love about it, is just how crazy it gets. Fernandez, I don't know if that's a legal move or not. He looks to the inside. Frizza cuts across, thankfully was not clipped by any of that. So that is that. Loverank now in a much better position. He is on the inside. Sanchez as well wants a position, and he does. So Portis dropping 2 spots. He's going to try to keep it up here. He has the inside line one way, but it's going to be outside the other way. And he is just going to give that one up. He's going to just concede the position. So after many laps of trying, Portis has to just stop his defense. Now he's going to be back on offense. But with Clifford behind and closing in, it may happen sooner rather than later. Let's check in right now. 7th, 8th, and 9th as off goes Bandera. Into the wall. Was he pushed? I'm not certain. We'll go over. No, completely self-inflicted. That McLaren's back end just getting a little bit loose there. And from 8th, he goes to 12th. Hendrickson has had absolutely nothing to worry about and has actually gotten around MacGyver in the meantime. As Kaiser picking up a drive-through penalty for track limits. You see him just now making the turn here. Behind him is Andre Lloyd. So despite everything, we are having plenty of problems for drivers. Now with Lovering freed from the cork in the bottle that was Portis, he can now look ahead. There's Andrew Wilson. He's going to be about 4 seconds ahead, and then 2.5 from Wilson to Rasco. So Lovering, if he wants to take a win, he is really going to have to get things moving. Because 17.5 minutes definitely is not a lot of time, and especially when you're playing catch-up for most of it. It seems like you have probably less than half of that. But we are starting to see these gaps form. We're starting to see drivers just take it easy. Battles have happened. Battles will come and go as the race develops. I want to keep an eye on Clifford. He has 2.1 seconds. Or sorry, is it 2.1? Yeah, it's about 2.1. To Portis. So it's going to be interesting to see. Oh boy, that looked a little bit perplexing there from MacGyver with Lemaire. Kaiser's come in, but anyways, yeah, Clifford's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get into that top 5. His pace compared to Portis has certainly been better by a significant margin. So this will be another case of when rather than if. So we're heading through the S's right now. Kaiser has parked it. That race is over and done. Check out behind though. Dan Fernandez, Chris Frizza. The battle for 10th right now on the grid is going one way and the other. As Fernandez a little bit of an over-under move sliding through the corners. Bandera. Style points is not going to get you any higher on the grid, but you can certainly try. Trying to side draft almost for Fernandez. I don't know how effective that is. We are going to be heading into the braking zone. Fernandez with the inside. And he's just going to keep it stapled right on the line that Frizza wants to use. So that'll put him ahead. But Frizza's going to battle back as best he can. Going to bide his time. Well, he has been playing defense. Now he's going to do a bit of scouting for the offensive push later on if it comes to fruition. But we are just about halfway through race number 2. Rasco still leading the field ahead of Wilson, Lovering, Sanchez, and Portis, your top 5. Then it's Clifford, Hendrickson, MacGyver, Lemaire, and Frizza. That's the top 10. Or sorry, Fernandez is the top 10. Completely forgot about that. Oh my god, and Frizza's fallen way off. And Hendrickson picks up fastest lap with that 2:05.23. So that was his last lap. So he's starting to get some pace. He started off in 10th because of the race win. He was moving up the field a bit. Got spun. He's down in 7th now. So no big issues. And what we are starting to see is perhaps Jonathan Clifford arriving to see what Portis can do. See how well those defensive skills are really working for him. And Sanchez as well, I think, is lower. So out of these 3, Clifford is the fastest then it's Portis, then it's Sanchez. So we go on board here with the 999. I don't know how much of the straightaway is actually working in his favor. What the setup is looking like. He can go pretty deep on the brakes, though. Portis as well. Close to Sanchez. Sanchez is sliding. You can see the tire marks coming out from the car. Just a little bit too much wheel spin there. And up ahead of them is Loverink. Oh, Frizza. Frizza's picked up a drive-through. Second driver tonight, or at least in race 2, that's picked up that drive-through penalty. MacGyver and Lemaire and Fernandez, to some extent. For 8th position, oh, Lemaire's starting to feel it. Lemaire's feeling a little bit opportunistic. And he'll throw it around the outside, but is he brave enough to keep it going into that final corner? Does MacGyver try for it? He does, very much over the lines. And he's going to get a little bit of a tap there from Fernandez. That didn't look to be intentional. That was MacGyver going and bouncing on the inside and nowhere for Fernandez to go. Does Bondera have something to gain from this? Perhaps not. Was side by side. Now he's well and truly off the pace. And someone who's not off the pace is Clifford. He's very much got Portis' number, and that number is the 5th number for this grid. He has slowly just been pulling in. And once he gets around Portis, it's all Sanchez. Loverink, in the meantime, has been steadily closing in on Wilson. Just about 3 seconds separates them. So this will also be another driver that we have to keep an eye on. Actually, just take a look. So you can see how far Loverink is ahead of those 3 behind, and then Wilson just now coming through the tail end of the backstretch. And Brian Rasco still leading, but here's the problem. As Wilson's McLaren's looking a little bit bigger compared to where it was before. Last lap was 0.2 quicker. And then there is Loverink. And with 11.5 minutes to go, I don't know if the Boatley can hold on. That's going to be a very tricky situation to be a part of. You can hold them behind, surely, but keeping them behind is an entirely different thing. So, we'll see. Maybe Rasco gets lucky and Wilson holds up Loverink long enough, if he ever does catch him, to where Rasco has plenty of time to get home safely for his first win of the season. We'll see how the standings look next week. For now, though, we're seeing some weird Constantina effects coming out from 4th through 6th. And then there's Hendrickson. Completely forgot about Hendrickson. He's just been running his own race right now, and he's even faster than Clifford by about 6/10. So, could we be seeing both Lamborghinis going past? We could. Absolutely could. But is there enough time? With 10 minutes to go, we're looking at maybe 4 or 5 more laps of COTA. Alright, Clifford, let's see what the slipstream is. Absolutely no help. So even when he gets close, it doesn't matter. So Clifford has definitely tuned the Lambo more for sectors, I would say, what, 1 and 3? 2 is not really a strong suit. At least it is definitely set up more for these tighter technical sections. That's probably where he feels strongest. Portis, on the other hand, has opted to put more of his eggs into the straight line speed basket, which has helped him out quite a lot at keeping Clifford away. And I'm thinking Sanchez might be running the same setup, because he has been keeping the same gap to Portis despite the fighting that those two behind have sort of had. Rasco is starting to lose a little bit of pace here. 1.3 for the Bentley. 9 minutes to go here. Wilson inching ever closer. And same with Loverink, because he is slowly catching up. I don't know. Oh, it's going to be tricky. I don't know. 8.5 minutes. Just about 8.5 minutes here on the clock. Let's go down the grid. We haven't given these guys a lot of love right now. Frieza, Pocket, Stapleton, and Eaton as side by side, almost together comes Eaton and Stapleton. Pocket is doing everything he can to keep the car behind. Stapleton wanted to move on Eaton, couldn't get it done. The Porsche slides. Stapleton backs off, though. Does Pocket see a door? He does, but it's going to open just a little bit later than he would have expected. And Frieza as well might get something out of this. He's going to make the smart decision and stick with Pocket as long as he can. Oh, I think Stapleton might have just gone into him a little bit there. As Pocket goes way off the circuit, it's just almost 3 wide there. And Frieza goes back down behind Stapleton. And we'll have to wait. Can't make a move just yet here. Although it might happen sooner. There's Eaton off the circuit. He's gotten a little bit sideways. So all of these guys are going to move up a spot. Be more than happy with that. Oh, Frizz is getting a little bit impatient. Speaking of impatience, we're seeing a little bit here. How about Fernandez and Lloyd? Or sorry, not Lloyd, MacGyver. These guys have just swapped positions. So no issues there. And now onto the backstretch. How are these cars tuned? Let's check via a rear-facing camera of Stapleton. It looks similar. In the slipstream, he's going to pull out of it. He'll be on the inside line. Into the braking zone. Does he feel it? He's thinking about it. But Stapleton's going to use the momentum. Carried around the outside. And Frieza snuffed out. Oh, boy. Oh, Rasco is in a very precarious situation now. Less than half a second separates himself from Wilson, and of course Loverink as well in the background. Now we will see how these guys have decided to set up for the circuit. I know Rasco is looking more for straight line speed. I wonder if Wilson's doing the same. Is sort of. I think he's dipping a little bit more into the handling side of things. Well, it's going to be quite a lot with 5.5 minutes to go here at the Circuit of the Americas for race number 2. Another driver who's going to be having a lot of work to do is Sanchez, as Portis dives down the inside. Maybe an odd braking point there for the Mexican driver, and now the 999 American of Clifford's going all over the place as he wants to get around, grab this position, get into the top 5. And Hendrickson as well, starting to get through these corners. Pocket picking up a drive-through. Not what you want to see, and I think Frieza just got that move done on Stapleton. Yes, he has. So Frieza up to 16th. Not the race he wants, but it's the race he's gonna have. Sanchez can't do anything as Clifford trades the position and now looks forward to Portis, if he can even catch him, that is. Hendrickson, the other Lambo, and Sanchez a sandwich between. Don't know if this will work out. Check back in Rasco. Oh no, this is not looking fun for him. Wilson and Loverink. Very, very, very close. As, yeah, Rasco is just holding up Wilson right now. Intentionally or not, Loverik is loving this. As he is so close to the 91. The braking zone we go. If anyone's going to be benefiting the most from a slipstream, it's this guy right here that you're on board with. Look at how close Loverik is, and look at Rasco just walking away. Fernandez has picked up that drive-through. So despite the best efforts of those on track, we are still seeing mistakes this late into the game. Rasco has stayed ahead. And MacGyver, I think, has gotten around. No, he wasn't even close to Fernandez. It was Lloyd he's been worrying about. Lloyd has had much better laps. So we'll leave these guys. But this is really where it's all at. Rasco started this second race in first position because of the reverse grid. Wilson and Loverik have been going through it for a while and getting through the field, and Pocket picks up a stop-go 30 for speeding in the pit lane, so that's just more pain. He might honestly just... Whoa! Oh, that was Loverik giving Wilson a little love tap in the rear. And because of that, Rasco will get a little bit of a buffer between them. Or between these guys. So, 2 minutes, 20 seconds. One more lap the next time around. And for Rasco, this is perfect. For Wilson, this is a slightly different set of circumstances. Both of these cars eyeing up the handling side of things. Perhaps they work together. Perhaps they say, you know what? Let's just try to catch back up. Andre Lloyd diving on the inside into turn number 1. Will get into the top 10. Runs it as wide as he can. MacGyver spinning the wheels on exit. Does not get the speed, but Lloyd, despite his overtake, is looking a little bit nervous, and now he's getting it done. Everything he can. He's going offline everywhere. And MacGyver's going to drift it as well. So both of these guys struggling to keep the cars firmly planted on the ground. Not a drift event here at here in Austin. These guys certainly having fun. Another bit of sideways action. All right, back up front we go, folks. Your top 3 once again in a similar situation. But this time, when they come around to that start-finish line, the last lap will commence. For Rasco, one final shot at holding off Wilson. Wilson knows it. Loverik knows it as well. And it looks like Wilson's actually had the better bit of racing. And as I say that, he doesn't, because Loverik gets an excellent line there through the penultimate corner. And now the last one we go. Folks, 30 seconds on the clock, but the final lap is commencing here for race number 2 of the Simrigs Sprint Series here at the Circuit of the Americas. Rasco leads it ahead of Wilson and Loverik. Your top 3, less than a second separates all of them. One driver putting all the chips on straight line speed. The other guys dishing it more evenly for handling, especially through the S's here. Rasco has to be perfect. He has to get everything just right until the back straight. If he can do that, this could go his way, but it is going to look impossible. And Loverik at the same time is attacking Wilson. There's nobody behind the 52. The lines for Loverik. You can't get him anywhere better. But the problem is he's getting these incredibly good runs out of corners, but there's just a McLaren in the way. Now he tries the over-under. You can see the lights on the side. Believe the yellow's there, the back tire's spinning, and that has happened. Look out of Wilson's front window as Rasco is pulled away Is there maybe a desperate dive from Wilson later on the brakes? This is going to be close. This is going to be incredibly close. If you're Rasco, this is not the section you want to be in, but if you're these two guys behind, this is going to be beautiful work. It has been lap after lap. Everybody's been pulling in. Clifford has just gotten close enough to Portis now that he can maybe look for a final last-ditch move. And look at how close Wilson is. All over the back of Rasco. Rasco goes wide. He's going to go bouncing. Wilson's on the inside. These two are going to touch into the final corner. Who's it going to be? On exit, Wilson gets him. There's no shot to Lovering. Oh my god. What a finish. What a finish. Wilson. A last-ditch move. After the mistake from Rasco, he's gonna win race number 2, and Lovering picks up second off the same error. You gotta give it up for Rasco, though. Tried everything he could. And just a day late, and a penny short at that. Portis is 4th, Clifford's 5th, then it's Sanchez, Hendrickson, Lemaire, Fernandez, who is going to have a 30-second penalty applied, so he's going to go way down. And then it's Lloyd, MacGyver, Bandera, Hernandez, Eaton, Frizza, Stapleton, Ciorciari, and Waters. Pockets in the pit lane, though. But what a final lap. What a battle from those three. From 1st to 3rd for Rasco, and Wilson beats Loverink out by just about 2/10, and Rasco loses out 4/100ths of a second as Hernandez comes home in 13th. Eaton just getting these last corners squared away for 14th. It's going to go wide into that corner, very deep, and Frizza gets the proper line. Frizza's going to be 15th, then it's going to be Stapleton. Ciorciari will be 17th, and Scott Waters will be the last driver here to cross the line at COTA. And it's going to be a bit of a weird bit of not having things move forward because Pocket's in the pit lane. Of course, as I say that, the game tells me to shut up and that I don't know what I'm talking about, which is totally fair. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for both races here tonight. At the Circuit of the Americas, Season 18 of the Simrigs Sprint Series well and truly underway. And let's take a look at the unofficial results. Race number 1, Hendrickson gets that first flag planted in the ground. Lovering, Clifford, Portis, and Wilson. Your top 5, Sanchez, Rasco, Fernandez, Lemaire, and MacGyver. Top 10. For the Pro-Ams, Lemaire, MacGyver, Lloyd, Pocket, Kaiser, Ciorciari, and Hernandez. Hernandez, a bit of a rough race from him. In the amateur class, Stapleton, Waters, and Eaton. And then for the Silvers, Fernandez and Bandera. Race number 2. Wilson, you saw it right at the final corner. Takes home the win by the slimmest of margins over Loverink. Rasco missing out there 4/100ths of a second. Portis, Clifford, your top 10. Sanchez, Hendrickson, Lemaire, Lloyd, and MacGyver. Keeping it consistent. Race 1 and race 2 in 10th position. And if there are any changes, we'll let you know. Lemaire, Lloyd, MacGyver, Hernandez, Ciorciari, Pocket, and Kaiser for the Pro-Ams. For the amateurs, it's Eaton, Stapleton, Waters, Silver, Bandera, and Fernandez. But folks, that's going to do it for us here tonight. Before we get going, of course, one final shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 18 of the Sprint Series. Melbourne, Australia. Everything you'd ever want. Wheels, pedals, bases. They got gloves. I wouldn't be surprised if they had socks somewhere in there if you searched hard enough. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, you guys are going to be all set. It's as simple as ordering something from Amazon or eBay. But if you're outside of that, send them an email. It's going to be the best and honestly the only way you guys are going to be able to get anything. So do give them an email. And of course, if you're supporting us via our Patreon page, make sure you guys use that 5% off discount. Sim Racing, never cheap. Even starter wheels are a little expensive, but they don't do that. They serve more of the higher end level of equipment. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. Hope to see them around more in the future. Folks, we got a week off. Not a week off. Next week at Barcelona for race number 2. And if you're curious about what the format's going to be, if you forget from earlier, it is going to be one 60-minute race with a mandatory fuel stop in there for that race. No idea if there's going to be a pit window, but of course we'll figure that out when we get there. But if you guys enjoyed, of course, as always, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Make sure you follow the channel here on YouTube, or if you're watching on Twitch, hey guys, how you doing? Of course, you can join our Discord. Plenty of action going on over there. We'd love to have you. If you're looking to get into the scene, get into the Academy series, and then go from there. Sometimes you go through the whole season, and you finally get put into sprint. I've had a teammate who did one race, and he beat everybody so bad they told him to get out and go into sprint, so who knows. But other than that, it's going to do it for us here tonight. Back next week, like I said, for Barcelona. And on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Folks, until next time, stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you next time.